What's up, St. Louis? It's your host, Luke Farrell of the STL Bucket List Show. The STL Bucket List Show is driven by Bomarito Automotive Group. Bomarito is Missouri's #1 car dealership with over 20 locations, so I guarantee that there's one in your neighborhood. Since the 1970s, Bomarito has sold over 1 million cars, and John and the entire team made us feel completely comfortable when we picked up our new vehicle recently for the family. So I can't thank the Bomarito team enough for driving this episode forward, and enjoy the show.
Hey St. Louis, Birch Tree Recovery is the newest outpatient mental health and substance use recovery resource in St. Louis. Birch Tree is truly doing it differently. Our science-based humanistic approach, along with a talented team of clinical professionals, will ensure that your time with us is life-changing. Birch Tree's approach to treatment is rooted in research and data. We reject any judgment and shame that may exist and challenge you to live the life you deserve, free of labels and stigma. If you or someone you know is struggling with mental health, call us. We can help.
If you want to hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday. Got a dope new guest every single week. Buckle up for the ride. Who's it gonna be? Who's on the show today? They rep St. Louis. What to do in the loo on a late night, or maybe what to do on a date night. Yeah, Bucket List has you covered. They know what's going on. What's going on? They'll give you, hey, 18 different things to do, or 19 if you need one more to choose. Yeah, this city is a place we call home. A place we call home. Yeah.
All right. How do I even start this show?
Welcome back to the STL Bucket List Show. We're here with episode 150. Marissa's back in studio today.
I forgot how to do the intro, guys, but I am here.
One of the first episodes of the new year. We're kicking it off with a very special guest. We have Katie Lee with Katie's Pizza Pasta. Katie's nationwide, the last stop, author, mom, entrepreneur, business leader. So many different things.
Pillar in our community.
Yes.
Thank
truly.
you.
Yeah, you are. We're excited to talk to you today.
I'm
Miss Katie.
excited to be here.
Yeah, well, thank you for making the time. Do you want to jump
Yeah, you
into
go ahead.
it?
Yeah.
Okay. So the first thing we always kind of address with our guests is just like a little bit of your upbringing, and
Yeah.
specifically, like, we're in St. Louis, and there's always the iconic, like, where'd you go to high school question. So
Yeah, that's a
are
good
you
answer
a
for
St.
me.
Louis? Like, this
I
is
am
where you're
born
from?
and raised.
Okay.
I'm very proud to be from St. Louis. Let's see, I was born on Arsenal across from Tower Grove
Oh,
Park.
yeah.
So
Our old
South
neighbor.
City
Yeah.
girl.
Yeah. Love South City.
And let's see, I went to Clayton schools. I lived in Richmond Heights though.
Mhm.
But I dropped out of high school, so
Mhm.
I don't have a graduation.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Dropped out when I was 15. Let's see, lived and worked a lot in the Central West End. And yeah, I'm very proud to be from St. Louis my whole life, and my family's from here. I grew up, my parents are really cool. My dad was a picker, so
Mhm.
an architectural salvage junk guy.
Mhm.
And my mother is a fine artist, a painter.
Amazing.
So I grew up in artist studios, and then grew up driving down alleys and meeting pickers and putting doors and bricks and stuff in the back of our
Yeah.
car.
We
You
used
gotta
to have
like
those on
have the
ours.
eye to like be like, is this worth grabbing or not?
Mhm.
So
We lived
Yeah.
on Lansdowne and Chippewa, and we'd always have guys coming down our alley
Yeah.
right there in South
Always.
City. Probably the same alley.
or we'd put stuff out there and we're like, let's see how long. Like it's
Oh,
like a
the
game.
washer and
Like
dryer
how
tool.
long?
That would have been my dad with his 3 kids in the back.
Yeah, yeah. Let's see how fast it goes. That's always the game.
Yeah.
Cool. So you kind of grew up around creativity, essentially.
Oh, very much. And my father, even though, he was like, a hustler,
Mhm.
was a very brilliant, creative, sort of eccentric person. And then my mother's obviously a real fine artist
Mhm.
and is a painter and has a studio. And I grew up in artist studios. All of the artists from St. Louis, I know all of them. And she taught art in Italy, in Florence, Italy. And that's how I got to go to Italy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's how
So, very creative environment. My aunt is Zoe Robinson, and she had E. Fratellini, Bar La Frere.
Yep.
So I grew up with her as a restaurateur mentor.
Mhm.
And then my other aunt is Carrie Hauk, and she is a actress. She runs the Tennessee Williams
Yep.
Festival
Mhm.
and was a casting director growing up. So a very eclectic, creative environment and a lot of women that were
Yeah.
doing really cool stuff.
Yeah,
So
that's amazing. I didn't know
yeah.
your aunt was Zoe. So
Yeah.
all those spaces are still alive, like where
I
the Bar
know.
Moro
That's
is
so good.
now.
Yeah, and
Used to be Billie
Wrights.
Jean's,
Yeah.
and then the space across the street, which is beautiful too.
Yeah. E. Fratellini's,
Yeah.
Wrights,
Mm.
and then Bar La Frere is Bar La Floraison.
Right,
If I
right.
said it
Yes.
right.
Yeah.
Another
But
favorite.
I mean, prior to those three, I worked in her restaurant, Zoe Pan Asian Cafe in the
Mhm.
Central West End.
Mm-hmm.
And then Cafe Zoe was in downtown Clayton.
Nice.
And then she had one in Lafayette Square. Yeah, a bunch. So
Mhm.
she's, amazing.
Wow.
Yeah.
So is that where like your passion, like let's talk about the passion
Yeah.
of cooking and culinary, and like where was that something just growing up around it? Like you were
Yeah.
just interested, as a kid, you're so like observant of like what people are doing. And so like, is that something that was just like part of who you are or something you saw?
Well, I obviously grew up going to her restaurants, working in her restaurants. My mother's an amazing cook. And the three sisters, we'd have Sunday dinners together, and they
Mhm.
were all really great cooks. And they cooked really fresh, beautiful food like we have today. But
Mhm.
back then,
Right.
the 80s, 90s,
Mhm.
like I've never had a casserole or anything like that you would normally grow up
Mhm.
with. They were really fresh Alice Waters type
Mhm.
cooks. So I had a good palate for
Mhm.
food, and I ate everything, even as a little kid. My mom said before I could read, she'd, describe the menu, and I would pick like the duck or like the most expensive thing, which really
Good. That's
upset her.
great. No, I know, right?
But
You're
that's
like,
good though. You want your
that's
kid
what
to
we
be
want
like,
Mila to be
No,
like.
my
You wanna-
my
yeah.
daughter's the opposite.
Oh, she
Is
is.
she?
I was about to ask
hard.
you if your daughter was picky.
Picky?
Really picky.
Ah,
But she's getting there.
Uh-huh.
yeah. She's only 6, so she'll
Yeah.
get there.
So I grew up in that environment. It was beautiful. And then I got to go to Italy around 1920. I went for a few years. My mother had an apartment there. She was in Italy for about 10 years off and on,
Mhm.
teaching for Washington University,
Okay.
study abroad program. And she had an apartment, and I was a waitress, and, would save up money for a plane ticket, and then I'd get to crash in her
Mhm.
apartment in Florence. But that is where anybody that's been to Italy specifically, it just understands that food is, part of every fiber
Culture,
of
yeah.
everything, and
Mhm.
the history and families and stories, and these recipes are just so special, and the ingredients come from very specific, not even just regions, but like, a couple
Correct.
miles of
Yes.
or just a family has a recipe, or they
Yes.
make pasta a certain way. And it's just so beautiful to see, and it's just like food hanging everywhere and different colored pastas
Mhm.
drying. And
Mm.
so
amazing.
that was where the spark lit,
Mhm.
and I was, trying to figure out my life, and didn't graduate from high school, never went to college, had only worked in restaurants,
Mhm.
started as, 14, 15 as a busser, and then a, dishwasher, and then worked my way up, and had worked in so many restaurants across the city, and had the entrepreneurial spirit, saw how successful Zoe was, and really had to weigh my options of, I don't have an education, but I have this education,
Mhm.
that I know this industry,
Uh-huh.
Right.
and now I have this beautiful food and culture that speaks to me.
Mhm.
And so I wrote my first business plan at 20 for a pizza and risotto bar.
Mhm.
I love
And
risotto.
I know.
Love it.
And I was like, I know how to make those two things, or I can figure it out. And those two dishes would be a great way to highlight specialty ingredients
Mhm.
in a different way. You can make all these different risottos and all these
Mhm.
different pizzas, and we'll use squash blossoms and figs. And so I wrote this business plan, still waitressing, struggling as I just, you
Mhm.
all will read in my book, but struggling with drugs and alcohol,
Mhm.
and would like try to sell this business plan to people, and no
Mhm.
one, obviously, everyone was like, "You're not even old enough for a liquor license."
Yeah, right.
You're a mess. But I did find a space in the Loop. It was the East Loop before the pageant was there.
Mhm.
And I found this space, and I called the number, and had a couple talks with them. I found an architect who's now still my architect.
Amazing.
And he had worked for he had designed a lot of my aunt's restaurants. And so he kind of like knew me, my family, and wrote and drew this space plan. And so I had this roll of drawings and I had my business plan, and it just never, I could never get anyone to believe in it.
In your early 20s at this point?
I was not even 21.
Oh, you
Yeah,
were,
Yeah,
20.
I was
wow.
20.
You said 19, 20 when you went to Italy.
Like
and you
I
came
went and
back.
tried to
Yeah.
sign this lease, and they're like, "You don't even have a bank account. You
Yeah.
can't sign a liquor license.
Yeah.
like let's wait a couple more
But
years."
at this point, you were in the industry for 6 years, so you felt
Oh,
like
yeah.
you felt like you knew it all.
Yeah,
I'm sure.
and I'm like one of those people that I think that's why I do so much, is that I don't see limitations,
Yeah.
even though there obviously were,
Yeah.
but normal people,
Totally.
would be like, yeah, those are. Anyway, I don't see them.
Well, and I feel like from the show, are we going on 3 years coming
Yeah,
up
this
in
is our
March?
third year
And
on the
like,
show.
I feel like every entrepreneur has said, like, what's the worst is you ask and someone tells you no, and then you're on to the next person until
Yeah.
someone tells you yes.
Yeah, because that's what you're just like. It is, this is it.
Yeah.
And I was so lucky that I knew that was it.
Yeah.
And I found it early. But anyway, I struggled with drugs and alcohol. And then around the age of 24, decided to get sober for the first time. It didn't stick, but I just kept trying. And so from 23 to 24, got out of the restaurant business, tried to get sober, reconnected with my father, who was this antique junk picker, and said, I got to get out of the restaurant business for a while. It's like,
Well, that
much
industry,
drugs. Yeah.
and like, so just a sidebar, like, so my first job whenever I was 16 was Texas Roadhouse.
Yeah.
And my dad worked at restaurants all of my growing up.
Mhm.
He works at General Motors now, but like my entire childhood was he managed restaurants.
yeah.
And so when I was looking for a job, he and my mom really did not want me to work in a restaurant because they knew the reality of it. And,
Yeah.
they're like, there's just so much. And like, people are sleeping with each other.
Oh,
and
my
the
God. Yeah.
waiters are selling,
Yeah.
pot because, at the time,
Yeah.
right? It's
Mhm.
illegal to the 16-year-old
A
host.
lot of
and
things fly in the restaurant business that wouldn't fly anywhere else.
Totally. Oh my
And
gosh.
especially, I'm 80s, or really the 90s, 2000s. I mean, it was just like
It was a different
people
world.
said things to you that you can't say anymore. and,
Totally.
so it's just a different environment.
Yeah.
So anyway, I was like, I got to get out of that.
Mhm.
So I'm he'd just been kind of like doing his picking in a warehouse, like on the north side, and selling to dealers that would come in town. And I'm like, let's open a little antique store. So we
Mhm.
opened this antique store on Clayton Road
Mhm.
in the building where the first Katie's Pizza is. And so we had that for a year or two with my other father, Rolando, my Cuban
Yeah. I
soulmate.
have a sticker with him
Yeah.
on it. You made stickers
And
with
I
him.
met
Yeah.
him
Yeah.
working for Zoe.
Yeah.
I
Oh,
met
wow.
him, and I actually met him prior when I was like, young, like
Yeah.
10,
Wow.
because he was the dishwasher at
Mhm.
Zoe's. So we had this amazing connection. Anyway, I said, Rolando, come help us. We're going to so the three of us have this antique store. And then I kind of grind my dad down, and I'm like, we got to do this pizza place. It's going to be amazing.
Mhm.
And so he was like, okay, we'll do it. I've got $50,000 to spend, which I was like, that is so much money.
Of course. Yeah.
And now you're like, ooh.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think you can buy plates
Yeah.
for an entire restaurant for
For
less
that.
than 50.
Uh-huh.
So we
Right.
built a restaurant in the space next to the antique store for $50,000. We painted ourselves. We built the bar. We got like all this used equipment. And he was like, but the deal is I'm going to own 100% of it. And you
Mhm.
get to put your name we're going to put your name on the awning. People are going to want to buy pizza from you, not me.
Yeah.
I remember reading that last night, and I was like, that's actually.
I loved reading the part about the junk store, and then also how you guys would do the sales, and you would do the
Oh, the
50%
sales,
off
the
sale.
50% off
Yeah,
sales.
yeah.
And he would say, we're going to have a 50% off sale tomorrow. Here's a bag of tags and a Sharpie. Mark everything
Double
up.
it up,
Double
baby.
it up.
So when you guys
Move it
did-
around.
Yeah.
When you guys did the restaurant, when you finally convinced him, were you struggling at that point with drugs and alcohol?
I was
A little
like
bit.
having, so I was in and out of relapse
Mhm.
sobriety. I'd been to probably 4 or 5 treatment centers by then,
Mhm.
Mhm.
hospital visits,
Yeah.
just horrible. I mean, very, very ill. And I could never really get more than like 90 days. And then I'd gotten, a few good stretches. And then right before the opening of Katie's Pizza on Clayton Road, I relapsed really badly. And I was like, I gotta, get my life together. So I go again to this place in Nashville for 30 days. And so they have to hold off on the opening.
Oh.
Because they need Katie for
Mhm.
Katie's.
For the
So
grand
The
opening,
face.
they
We need
need
the
you to meet there.
face.
So when we were reading last night, like obviously all these stories, and I thought it was so cool how you and your dad had that moment together, and your other dad, Rolando, too,
Yeah.
and you guys started the restaurant together. But he ended up firing you from the
Oh, many
restaurant.
times, all the time, and it deservedly so.
Right.
So the place opens. I come back. I'm sober. The place opens. It is like a huge success
Mhm.
because it's really the first artisan pizza place in St. Louis.
Yeah.
First place, using things like squash blossoms and figs on pizza. This is 2008. The crash
Yeah.
happens, but like I said, it didn't matter to us because we were already in the hole.
Yeah.
So,
Mhm.
this all happens. And then I see the success and I see him making this money and I'm not making any money. I'm cooking and just like, getting whatever minimum wage or, cause he was really tough. He's a really tough love guy and really like a boy named Sue. Like, I'm going to
Yeah.
make you tough and mean.
Mhm.
And so I got mean and got angry. And we would fight and we were dysfunctional. He was epileptic. He had brain damage my whole life, but there's a lot of trauma to the brain. It's difficult. And so we were both just like sick. And I saw all this money going to him and I became resentful and I kept relapsing. And finally, eventually, after many, many times of getting fired and coming back, he was like, that's it, you're done. And so he fired me finally, the final fire. And over the next 6 months, just spiraled out of control and just didn't have anything and lost everything and was really deep into drugs and alcohol, obviously. Lost all of my friends. My family wasn't speaking to me. No one was going to put me in another treatment center. And ended up without a home or without a car, without a bank account, without anything. All I had, I could carry in like a grocery bag. And I remember it very distinctly. And finally was sick and tired enough to move into this halfway house on South Broadway. And so I moved in. I lived there for 6 months and got my life back together and then eventually got my job back and then decided to go out on my own and build my restaurants from there.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was a really special experience. I lived on South Broadway. I'd take the bus to work. I'd waitress at the restaurant I created under other employees who were my boss. It was very
Under your name, but it was
humbling.
still Katie.
Yeah,
So,
very humbling.
right, like, so you're saying it's humbling, like,
Yeah.
and when you started it, right, and your dad says, "Okay, your name's going on it, but
Yeah.
it's mine,"
Yeah.
essentially,
And you were
and
probably
you
fine with it
agree.
at that moment.
So,
I was
what
so
what did
excited.
you
I'm
think?
like,
You
we're
were
just
just
gonna
happy
do
to
it.
have your
Well, I was
your
like,
It'll
just
work itself
so
out.
it'll
Yeah.
work itself
Yeah.
out. And it kind of made sense. I'm like, I'm not putting in any. I don't have any money.
Mhm.
He's got $50,000.
Yeah, like, yeah,
So you mentioned in
this
the-
is happening
you
because of
mentioned-
you.
you
And I
mentioned-
figured eventually he would cut me in.
Sure.
And we kind of had this like
Those
thought that
conversations.
it would probably happen. And I'm glad he didn't. It was the greatest thing that ever happened to me. He made me an entrepreneur by doing
Mhm.
that.
So you mentioned in the book at that moment, that 6-month spiral, you were at the halfway house. You got kicked out of the halfway house.
Yeah.
And then Linda is her name?
Yeah,
Yes.
Miss Linda.
Miss
Miss
Linda.
Linda.
Miss Linda sent you, she said, if you can find a detox place, you find this detox place in Hannibal, Missouri.
Then
Yeah.
we'll see.
And
we'll
then
see.
you said you
Yeah.
died right there.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah,
explain that
it's
moment.
a metaphorical.
Because that was
Yeah.
right towards the end. And That was right towards the end, and now I want to hear the next chapter.
Okay, so everyone, he's referencing the first chapter of my book.
Yes.
I actually was like, I could read like just the beginning part if we want.
And we'll drop the book. This episode's going to be called The Last Stop.
Oh,
so,
okay.
Yeah.
So I wrote this book
Yeah.
about, my childhood, my addiction story, my entrepreneurial story up to the present, and my family, and Rolando and my dad, and all these special. So each chapter is like, about all of those things. But anyway, I'm launching this book in a serial publishing format.
Mm-hmm.
So each chapter is on its own. It has artwork. It's like an interview magazine format. And so the first one we wanted to start with was this chapter, The Last Stop, about me getting sober finally and dying, and then building Katie's from there. Yeah. But so I was living in this halfway house after being homeless for 6 months. Finally got a place to stay. I was so grateful to be in this house with these 20 women. And about a month in, relapsed again, and they called the halfway house the last stop, because it was like, after prison, after everything, like, this is the only place that'll take you. You've exhausted all of the treatment centers. You've exhausted all of your family and friends. This is where people end up who've tried everything and are at the bottom. So we called this place the last stop, and I mess up and get kicked out of the last stop. And I am desperate to get back in. And Miss Linda, the house mother, is like, you've got to go get detox, and I don't have any money. And I've exhausted the last stop. And my roommate at the time, who was a very resourceful young woman, said, I know there's a state-run detox facility, which means free, in Hannibal, Missouri. So she gives me a ride to Hannibal, Missouri, and I get dropped off. And it's like, it is hardcore. Like, you're in this room and it's locked, and there's these 2 other women, and we're all smoking cigarettes for days, and the room's filled with smoke, and there's a little window, and they, no detox meds. You're just smoking
and that's it.
and writing it out, right?
Yeah. Wow.
And I called my mother. You got 1 phone call a day that was monitored. I called my mom, and I was like, you got to get me out of here. I'm so sorry. She'd heard it a million times. And she did a very brave thing, which you are taught to do when you have an addict child or family member, which is disconnect from them. They cannot, the more you help them, the more you kill them, right? And so she just says, nope, I'm not helping you anymore. And it was the way that she said it to me that I realized in that moment that she had come to peace with the fact that, not that I was like dying, but that I was dead. Like, this was, everyone knew that it was a matter of days, weeks, that it was going to be. They'd been through so much with me. So the way that she said it, I was like, she's telling me I'm dead. I am dead. So I have this experience, go back in the room, lay down, and just all of a sudden it all becomes clear to me, like, this, I can't do this anymore. And it was like universal God, whatever experience. And I was like, I got to get out of here. And I have this feeling that I'm done. And it's like the first time I feel relief.
Wow.
And I got to get out of here, and I got to go live my life. And I open the window, climb out of the window in Hannibal, Missouri, walk down the country road, and put my thumb out and get a ride back to St. Louis and start my life. But yeah.
And since that moment.
Yeah. I've been sober ever since. And I haven't had any, it's been relieved. Like, everything was relieved in that moment. I don't know how to explain it except like a miracle or something.
Especially since you were saying, like, so many times you had put them through it, or you had gone through it, and then it's like, for whatever reason, like, you just, something.
It just clicked. Something clicked.
Your mom too. That was so hard for her to do that.
So
I'm sure.
hard.
But that actually changed your life, though.
Oh, right,
So hard.
right.
I know.
Oh my God, you're her baby, regardless. Because how old were you at that?
I was probably I was like 28 or 29, so I was getting up there. But I think I got sober when I was 29, 2011. Yeah.
And how long were you struggling?
Well, really, I mean, you think about high school dropout and like all of
you
the
said
things. So, I mean, I
15.
had my first drink at 13 and was hooked. And but when I got sober at 23, which is early to get sober, which means,
When you're supposed to just start drinking 2 years ago.
Right.
But
Yeah.
I
But I
mean,
struggled probably for 6 or 7 years. I could not get sober for 6 or 7 years. And I remember thinking the people that can get sober are not real alcoholics because this disease is too hard.
Mhm.
And so those people, like I remember really believing that, like all of these people that are sober, they didn't have the problem because this is impossible. I wanted to so bad. I tried everything and I couldn't. So I was
Mhm.
like, the real alcoholic cannot get sober. And then I had that experience and it was lifted and
Yeah.
it was cool.
Wow.
I'm sure that you
Amazing.
have so many people that are listening and that read your first chapter that have reached out to you and have been like, oh my gosh, thank you so much for sharing. I
Yeah.
mean, what is the feedback of maybe even just of people in general, but more specifically like other
People
alcoholics
struggling.
or other, people that
Yeah.
use? I mean,
I
has it?
think I think all feedback's been good. I
Mm,
think it's a heavy chapter.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They're all very interesting. My life isn't any different than anyone else's. I'm just good at telling the story and finding the characters and everything.
Mhm.
So all of the chapters are really interesting, but it's a heavy one. So I think it's hard for people to approach this feedback with this one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was. I was like, whoa.
Yeah. Yeah, but know that the story obviously
Yeah.
gets great and there's a
Yeah.
lot of funny moments in it
Yeah.
and I've been through some crazy stuff. So,
But I think
yeah.
that's the beauty. That's your truth. That's your
Yeah.
life. And so how many chapters are we
I
expecting?
wrote 16
Okay.
chapters. And so, yeah.
And that was the
You
first
never
one
know
that we
though.
read
The
last
cool
night.
thing about this serial publishing thing is it's like the restaurant business where I get to interact in real time with the chapter with people.
Yeah.
And then I get to evaluate and do maybe a rewrite or an edit on the next one.
Mhm.
And so
Mm.
it's very instant like feedback sort of situation, whereas if I would have published the whole thing, that's it. And
Mhm.
so I'm enjoying this experience where like I just, even though I had written this, throughout the year, and the second chapter, which will be coming out soon, was written a year ago. I went back a few weeks ago and did a rewrite on it.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
That is really cool because
yeah,
it's kind of like how life is now. It's
yeah,
very, you can change and you can meld.
flow.
And when you
Yeah,
work on something for so long. So
And you're
is,
reflective of how you really want to nail down that moment
yeah,
of your life.
yeah. And
So,
you
and it
reflect.
allows you to perfect each piece instead of
Mhm.
rushing through certain parts just to get a certain amount of pages done.
Totally.
Which
And
I'm
then,
sure.
like in by the time I've released the 15 chapters, I may have a couple more, and it could just
keep
continue on.
going.
And
You have the
yeah,
flexibility to do
yeah,
that.
I've
I
never
love
actually.
that
She's an
style.
English major, so I mean, when I heard serial like chapters, I didn't quite grasp it. So,
yeah.
what inspired you to even do that in the first place?
Part of it is the feeling of needing to get this material out
Yeah,
quickly because I'm an instant
yeah,
gratification take
we all are.
charge
Yeah,
person.
Mhm.
And to get a publishing deal, it can take years, right? And I'm like, I'm not waiting around years to do this. And then also the team that I worked with, so I wrote the whole thing myself, but I have a team who has designed my new branding
yeah.
and my new videos and all of these exciting things that will be coming out this year. They're from Los Angeles. They've done incredible work with um, Tyler the Creator,
Mhm.
Mac Miller,
Wow.
Gucci, um, missing. I mean, a million. They're going to look
Mhm.
at this and be
Yeah.
like, "What are you?"
Yeah.
They're like,
You're
we've done
missing
You
a
so
missed
much.
lot.
that.
But
Sure.
they work with a lot of creative artists,
Yeah.
and they found me through my friend Tony Gaddis, who's an artist in St. Louis. Um, Came up, helped kind of craft this idea of the serial publishing. Because they come from music and it's kind of like an music album,
Yeah.
release
Mhm.
where you release a
Couple
single,
songs.
get
Yeah.
people
Mhm.
excited, and then you release the album at the end. And then also, if you look back in history, this is how authors published their material
That's right.
Mhm.
100 years ago.
That's
Everybody
right.
did it in
Yeah.
magazines,
Mhm.
and Hemingway did it. And so I'm not comparing myself to
No,
any of those
but
people, but my point is that's how everyone
it
did it.
worked.
Right.
Yeah.
Look at the first folio. Like
Yeah.
that's how it goes.
Yeah, so it gets people excited, and it's an
Mhm.
inexpensive way to,
Yeah.
yeah, just start to get it out there, and I just really wanted to get it out there.
Yeah. It's
So
great.
then
Yeah,
the chapter we read last night
yeah,
was chapter 1.
yeah.
So then how did you think about like how you were going to pinpoint those moments? Because this is cool to me because I've always said I wanted to write a book because of the shit I've been through in my life, and it's not easy. And I love like the chapters, and so it's like if you're going to do it like that, you have to really think about like I'm sure life-changing moments or things like that. So like how did you kind of pin down that?
I just sort of so each chapter is almost a encapsulated story in itself. So that's nice. So out of the 15, they can all be shifted around however you want, and you still get the
full picture,
the full story. So I've never written before. I always journaled, right? And I just decided I've just got to start writing important moments. So I just started writing important moments or about important people or about important experiences. And then from there, then you start to see it kind of come to life, and then you start to fill in the gaps, or you come up with another thought or story. But it's a very you just got to do it and just get down the most important stuff first. That's what I did because I wasn't as good at writing in the beginning. I had so I thought, well, then I need to start with really good content. So, for example, the last stop,
I mean, that's
that was good.
You know, the content can write itself. And then as I became, I figured out my style and how to write and how to tell a story. Then it was easier to get into those other chapters that are maybe not as
a little lighter,
chaotic.
maybe. Or
Yeah.
So she read it to me as I listened. I wasn't looking at the pictures and the way things were structured. So then after she was done reading, I looked at the pictures and I saw the highway in the country. Like I thought that was cool. Like
It was really
the
cool.
old
The Newports.
location.
So
The artwork was crazy. The
this
Newport
team,
one was
the
awesome.
Tilford brothers and Tony Gaddis, they designed all of that. So that's all them. The artwork and the design is really them, and it's really been. And then my brother Johnny and my mother Belinda, they would all workshop every chapter. So I would send the chapter to this group, and then they would workshop it without me in it.
Yeah.
I wasn't allowed to at the workshops.
Oh.
Yeah.
And they would go through and just make notes on, we don't understand what you're talking about here, or stuff like that.
Yeah.
Or expand on that. And so then they would send back the feedback, and I would be able to like
edit it and
edit
edit
it
it.
and
That's what I was going to ask,
expand.
like
That's the
your support
process.
system of like how, because it is really hard. And like you said, as after dropping out of high school, like you weren't writing and doing all these things. So like,
and
you know
now,
what it says, but if
Yeah.
you give it to somebody, they're like, wait, this is all scribble notes over here.
listen to
like,
me. I didn't even have a computer when I wrote the first 2 chapters because I am just a basic get in there and like do the work. And I, am not educated on computers.
I hate a computer. I know the very bare minimum.
So eventually I was writing everything, with a pen and then transferring it to the notes on my phone and then emailing it off. And they were like, you have to get a computer.
Yeah.
They're like, this is chaos.
If we're going to take this seriously.
Sure.
So I got my first computer.
Really?
That's so funny. So you scanned it and then it messed it all up because they couldn't read certain things
Yeah.
up there. Yeah, that's so funny.
No,
I love that.
it was funny. It's pretty good. Yeah.
Goodness, amazing.
So when did you guys set a date for the next chapter yet? Or?
Yeah, it'll be coming. I think we're going to, because of the holidays, like we wanted to release the first chapter to St. Louis first.
Yes.
So we had this big party, and there's a lot that we're going to be unveiling this year. But we had this big party in St. Louis in November, right before the holidays, where we kind of gave everyone a sneak peek of what we're doing.
Yeah.
Which is a beautiful video campaign that was shot in Los Angeles that's based on Fellini films, which I've been playing in my
Yes, at the
restaurants.
dinners.
Yeah.
Oh, we love
And
them.
this
All the BTS
campaign
of that,
will be the marketing for the Fine Italian Foods line. That is a new line of foods that's just come out that complements the frozen pizzas and the pasta bakes. And then, new branding and new restaurants and all kinds of
that's
really
amazing.
good
So
stuff.
it's a combination of all these different things that you're doing. The new branding, I love the vibe of this. It's like sitting it next to your other branding's great too.
Yeah.
But sitting it next to there,
It's fun
like,
to do something new.
it's
of
like
course.
class. It's like class. And then the
classic
old school
icon, yeah.
movies, I saw the BTS, the behind the scenes of you like
Yeah.
on a hot rod. And like, I'm like, what is going on here? I'm like, is this just pizza? I'm like, dang.
No. I'm not in the commercials.
Okay.
This isn't a Brown and Crouppen situation.
Yeah.
comments. I love
No
you.
shade, no
I love
shade.
you.
Yeah,
I
Terry,
love
I had
you.
Terry and them on like 3 weeks ago.
That's
On the
hilarious.
show.
Oh no, they're gonna see this.
all
Don't
good.
cut that out.
No,
I
it's
love you guys.
I'm not gonna
All
be in the
love, all
But
the
commercial.
love.
anyway, it's really cool. So anyway, the point is we wanted to share it with St. Louis first. We did that.
Yeah.
And then starting in January, we're going to launch it to the nation and start with the first chapter again to the nation. And then, I'll do book chapter releases in bookstores across the country, etc. And each chapter will come out. We're going to figure out the cadence, but probably every once a month.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
I mean, you are busy. You really
Yeah.
are. And especially, I feel like the last few years, you have, opening new restaurants, the dinners, like
Yeah.
that now you can buy the pizzas and the pizzas are in the grocery stores. And now that like you
Yeah.
are just going.
Well, I have a huge team. I've got 300 people,
Mhm.
Okay.
and then a huge executive team. That's all, Jake, Carrie McDowell. We have a really exciting new chef that just moved here from San Francisco that I'm going to announce soon, but I can't
wow.
announce him yet, but he's huge. And
Oh,
anyway,
nice.
he's going to be part of the chef collective. Another front of house rock star that I'm going to announce as well that you all are going to be so excited about is coming on. So I have this group of people. So I am in this great place where we all get to come up with these wonderful ideas, and
you're in
then
scale
it
mode
takes
right now.
yeah, and then and it's this big group that executes it all. But I have so much energy.
Yeah.
And obviously, I don't drink,
Right.
and I'm very, very healthy, and kind of treat myself as like an athlete
Mhm.
with health, because that's I treat my brain and my body that way, because in order to do all of this, I have to.
Because
You
you're still a
move
mom.
Have to.
You're still a mom, and you're still a,
I know.
a sister,
Oh, yeah.
and a daughter, and all these different
Yeah.
things. But it's like you're in that mode right now where you're putting all the pieces on the board. You're a coach right now, but you're
Yeah.
also you're a coach player.
Yeah.
Because you're still right now. You're
Definitely.
gonna
All
be
hands
you're gonna
on.
be on a
Yeah.
tour next year, not only promoting your book, but in the meantime also promoting your
All
products.
of
'Cause
this.
you
Yeah.
also have something to
Mhm.
sell. A lot of other authors just have their book.
Yeah.
You have your book and your business and
Yeah.
products that everybody can get. So you
It's
guys have
pretty cool.
expanded. You just got the Walmart deal,
Yeah, we got the
obviously,
Walmart
which was
Golden
huge.
Ticket.
Yeah.
We've got about a couple of the big retailers that will be announced soon. So we're right now in about 800 doors across the country. We're growing really fast, and
Mhm.
we're expanding our manufacturing plant in Creve Coeur, and so just lots of growth.
Lots of growth.
Yeah.
And so if you were to take yourself as you are right now and go back
Yeah.
and talk to, we'll call her Hot Mess Katie, not to be impolite, but we all have
She said
hot
hot
mess
mess is probably
versions of
nice.
ourselves.
Yeah.
We do, trust me.
I
Hot
call
Mess
myself-
Marissa would be like, who are you
I
right
called
now?
myself a deadbeat daughter in one chapter.
I
Hot
mean,
mess is nicer.
Hot mess is like a cutesy
What
way to say,
would
"Oh, you're a hot mess
you-
girl." It's like, no.
Yeah. We all, like I said, we all have that version of ourselves. What would she think of you right now? What would you tell her?
Oh, don't do this to
Sorry.
me.
I know. I'm like, that's a hard. But like,
Yeah.
I'm sure like in the mindset of like you said, like these people aren't real alcoholics,
Yeah.
and
just
not
think-
seeing that light or not
Yeah.
having that click until later.
Yeah. Well, I think she would be like, really relieved
Mhm.
and grateful that there was light at the end of the tunnel. Yeah. And hopefully very proud.
Yes.
Don't
She'd
do
be like, damn,
this
I look
to
good too. Look, see, we can do this. We can do this.
Don't do this. That's a hard one. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
very special though, but thanks. Yeah.
Seriously.
So I kind of want to ask another question. It might be hard too, but I have a daughter. I'm about to have another daughter. You have
Yeah.
a daughter. What does it mean for her to see you become
Yeah.
successful? Because she's
Mhm.
only 6 years old, but her whole life she's got to watch you.
Does she
clean.
understand like all of the work that you're doing? Like, what is
Yeah,
she?
she knows I work hard. She knows that, like, if we go places, people will know me or stuff like that. I think what I worry about is that I don't want her to see this as like an easy thing that is it. Not that it's not attainable. I want her to believe it's attainable, but I
Right.
want her to know that there's a lot of hard work that goes into it. And I grew up, with parents that struggled, and So I got a work ethic and drive from that. And I'm like, how do I figure out how to do that for her?
Mhm.
Yeah. And so
Mhm.
it's just tough being a parent.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
you worry so much.
I know.
I
And
know we haven't even gotten to the part where she's aware of things. Like right now, like you said, it's just like
But we
her
You're just
first
trying to
birthday is
keep her
coming, and I'm
alive.
like, the first birthday is kind of a big deal. Not only because like you're one, but also like we kept a human being alive and well for a year. Like
Without
go
choking.
us. I mean, seriously.
So we talk about that, but I get your point because you can do everything right and you can teach them all these lessons,
Yeah.
but sometimes it's
Yeah.
hard, you know.
She might not be an entrepreneur. I mean,
Yeah.
she might just be. She's really smart. She
Mhm.
reads. You know what she's doing right now? She's writing books, which is so
Aw.
cute
Right.
because she's so excited about my
Yeah,
book.
you.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
so she writes all these books and is telling me that she's going to go sell them at the restaurant.
Oh,
So she might, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, she is definitely picking up on the patterns.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what I worry about is just making sure that, they have enough love,
Yeah.
that they feel like they can come to you when life is
It's
tough.
hard,
Mhm.
or you do
Yeah.
something. There's no shame. You
Yeah.
just that's
Yeah.
always been our
But
thing
I know,
too.
she's going to have, just like everyone on this planet that's a human,
Mhm.
tough experiences. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
just making sure she's equipped.
Yes, exactly.
That's great.
Totally.
So you've opened up this huge restaurant in Ballpark Village.
Yeah.
You've taken these big swings, these big risks, and
Yeah.
what keeps you taking these risks? Because you could get comfortable, and a lot of
It's like-
entrepreneurs get comfortable, but
I don't see
Yeah.
it's like the
Stopping
first
point.
restaurant
Yeah.
that I tried to open at 20 without,
Yeah.
a bank account or able to sign a liquor license. I don't see the
Limitation.
the
of it.
limitations.
Mhm.
I'm also, as cheesy as this sounds, not doing it for like a P&L bottom line. Like I don't, that stuff doesn't affect me. What I get excited about is creating, influencing, innovating.
Mhm.
And so I love big projects. I love like doing crazy things and, having problem solving and people realizing their potential and me realizing my potential. So,
Yeah. That's a
yeah,
good way to look
I
at it.
just don't, I know like this is such a, short time that we're going to be here. Anything can happen at any moment.
Mhm.
True.
I believe we keep going somewhere and doing other amazing things or whatever. I don't
Mhm.
know, but I
Mhm.
know it doesn't end because I've had people that die and they're still hanging around and talking to me. So,
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
so for me, this isn't as serious as it,
Yeah.
I
It's
my
think it to
understanding is
be.
this is small,
Mhm.
and so I don't look at it as
As a risk. You
as
don't look
a
at a risk.
a
Yeah.
huge serious thing where this
Mhm.
is like the end all be all. I know that there's more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
So might as well just, go
Enjoy
crazy.
it and do
Well, that's a
it.
good mindset. It's like it's like the no plan B's mindset. It's like if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But also like
Something will.
you've been through it before, and people
Mhm.
don't realize how young they are, and even if you're in your 30s or 40s, like you
Yeah.
still have so much time to reinvent yourself.
Oh my
You
God.
could reinvent yourself again
Just
and
watch
again
that
and
Martha
again.
Stewart
Oh my
documentary.
gosh.
She
so
didn't get going
good.
until
We
she was in her
loved it.
40s.
I know.
Yeah.
And then she
Loved
went
it.
and got
And now
gotten
she's still huge and
Yeah.
beautiful and
Yep.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yep.
And a little,
a little crazy.
She's
A little
feisty.
crazy.
I loved it.
I
I'm
loved
like, I
that
didn't
doc.
realize she was
I
so.
know.
Her life she lived though, that's goals.
But
That
I was
life on a
like-
farm, that's
Yeah.
goals.
It's
Oh,
just
she
funny.
did
I'm
it.
like, people
Yeah, it's
clearly
beautiful.
don't take to her a certain because she like I think like this is how I am a
Yeah.
little bit like just spits out the truth.
Me
Like
too.
you
Mhm.
just can't sugarcoat it.
I
And people
know.
don't love that. Like
I
people
know.
don't
And
receive
you
that
have to
well
tell them,
sometimes.
you have to just explain yourself.
Yeah, it's just she's just shooting the shit straight.
You're like, "That's
I
just
loved
Marissa.
it.
That's just
the
Marissa."
way I am. Sorry. So I loved everything about that
I
doc.
thought it was great. I watched it twice.
Oh, it's so good. She's the best.
So giving back is huge in what you guys do. Obviously,
Yeah.
your Give Back Tuesday just reached a huge milestone.
$500,000.
Okay, so
Wow.
that's
Yeah.
where
And
we're
that's
at.
100% of the profits on
100%
that
of the
Tuesday.
profits every fourth Tuesday of the month. We've been doing it for 10 years. We donate 100% on that Tuesday to a local nonprofit. Now that we have 3 restaurants, it's 3 nonprofits every month.
So different ones.
St.
a
Louis
different,
based.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yep. And very, to us, meaningful organizations that are helping people that really are in need. And so, yeah, last month in December, we hit $500,000 donated to local charities. So really
Incredible.
cool.
Good for you
Yeah.
guys.
So
That
amazing.
is
Yeah.
amazing.
We'll keep it going. We'll see what happens.
You got a whole another year ahead, so make sure you get in there.
Yeah.
Well, right. I'm just
and many more locations and more times
building
4,
one.
5, 6.
Are you
I'm
another
building
location?
one in Crestwood.
Okay,
wow.
good.
And that is they broke ground on that, and then I'll open it up at the end of 2025.
Okay.
Maybe fall, winter.
Mhm.
And then I have a really cool project that is, I can't even, but I'll come back on here and tell you guys about that when that gets a little bit
when
closer.
we're ready.
Wow.
But yeah.
So the Crestwood one is out. The news is
Yeah.
out because they
Yeah.
started breaking
Oh,
ground.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I was going to say,
That's
I
a
didn't
good
see
area,
anything. Did you
too.
post that or no?
I haven't even posted it yet.
You might wanna
have
post
so
it before
much
this
going
comes
on.
out.
I'm
You heard it here first.
I was going to say, I was
guys.
like, I don't think I heard that yet, but you might want to
I
post
mean,
it.
people know about it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Exciting.
I'll post it when I post this.
Yeah.
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 Good, good deal.
So
all the
Crestwood,
things happening.
St. Louis, like obviously, you see other not chains in St. Louis,
Yeah.
but like the Sugar Fires, and like there's only so many you can do in St. Louis. So
Yeah.
as you start
Feel
to
free
look
to
out,
come to Cottleville. I'm
Oh,
just
I
saying.
know, it's
just
so beautiful
just so
out there.
if you need a place.
as you guys start to expand, you probably identified markets. And I mean, is there a dream location for Katie's that's on the radar, like a dream that you would be like, I would love to have a location there?
You mean in St. Louis?
And no, just in the world.
Anywhere.
Or in the US maybe. That makes it easier.
I don't know. I mean, I love it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't know.
It's hard to say.
Yeah. They're all pretty
I
cool.
can
I
see
mean,
like
I look at Nashville sometimes. I look at,
That would
I
be
could see, like,
good.
San Diego, like a street side cafe.
Oh, I
in
know. I
San
love
Diego.
San Diego.
Or like
Yeah.
just somewhere on the West Coast where it's like this like outdoor indoor vibe.
Yeah,
And
that
like
would be
just
good.
love it.
Yeah.
Chicago would be fun.
Right now, yeah.
Well, you have
I'm like,
connections
it's
all
all
over.
gonna- I know, I do. I have looked a little bit in Nashville, so if that happens, that would be probably the first one.
And that's a
Nashville
drive
or
too.
KC
Yeah.
would probably
Yeah.
be where I go first.
A little
Yeah.
closer.
And then you
Yeah.
can drive and a lot of your staff can go. And stuff
Exactly.
like that.
You can get on a flight and go put out a fire.
Yes.
Right. Yeah.
Quickly.
Quick.
I need a direct
Well,
flight.
congratulations on Crestwood. That's awesome. And then the other one you can't announce yet is in the St.
No.
Louis area too.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And it's going to be a new concept
Oh wow.
with the Chef Collective.
Okay.
Yeah.
Under a different name or just a
Well,
Katie's
a
different
version.
concept. Yeah.
She'll come back.
Okay.
We'll
Yeah,
have her
I'll come
back
back.
and
I know.
talk
I
with
want to
you
know.
as
I know
well.
she wants to talk
Here's
about
a
it.
hint. I love Italy. I love Florence.
Yeah.
So it'll be, yeah.
I'm with you. I think I'm with you. Okay.
You need that. That's amazing.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
And speaking of loving Italy, one of the wine dinners that we were able to
Oh,
attend,
yeah.
you were able to fly out someone. Oh my gosh, why am I
Which
blanking
one did
on?
you guys
It
come
was the
to?
woman.
We've
It was the
actually been
older
to
woman,
2 or
And it was the
3.
family. It was like
Legator.
Yep, Legator. Yeah.
Yeah.
So how is that? Like, what made you think like, okay, we're gonna like this isn't just a wine dinner of like
Yeah.
just my food, but we're gonna
No.
have like people come in and bring their product and talk. Like I love the storytelling of like
Mhm.
what like a winery or vineyard means to that. Like,
Yeah.
how did that idea come
it's
about?
The ballpark space is so stunning
It's
and it's so
beautiful.
good for holding events and parties
Mhm.
that I was like, we just have to, again, it goes back to like just wanting to do big, beautiful things.
Mhm.
So, and then wanting to have moments where we can write really special menus, which help us learn and create and develop. And so I just wanted to do these really outlandish wine dinners. And I've done like 3 or 4 of them. I'll do another this spring where I fly in a winery from Italy.
Mhm.
And then we write a menu, 4 or 5, sometimes 6 courses based on the region where the wine's from and the wine. They come in and they share their story and they move around the room. And everyone, I'll usually sell like 180 tickets. Everyone eats at the same time, which is very hard to do. But
Yeah.
I'm like,
You
I
guys
want
are
it-
cooking back
and you're
there.
like
It's like a
all
wedding
eating
every
it.
time you do it.
It's like a wedding,
Yeah.
but and they're all everyone eats together at long
Yeah.
communal tables, and there's beautiful flowers and music, live music, and everyone gets to get dressed up and have fun, and it's just
It's a great experience
Yeah.
when we've got because what we've done too.
Yeah.
But like you said, like it's communal. So it's like you don't know who's going to be there. And then we see
Yeah.
people that we know, just other
Mhm.
community members. And
And you have a lot of like
Um,
big time people come out and stuff
yeah.
too. So a lot of people
Mhm.
that people know, local celebrities and
yeah.
stuff.
we just
Yeah.
meet
It's fun
new
finding a
people,
seat
and then
because you're
we
like, who am I
eat
going to
good
sit next to?
food.
And then you end up sitting next to somebody you don't know.
Yeah.
And then you talk to them.
I know.
Or we sit next to Jason Bachman.
Oh yeah.
And then we have a
talk to
really
you.
good dinner.
Card,
And then we
one
have
of
a
our
really good
favorite.
dinner when we sit
My
next
buddy
to him.
Jason and I have been friends for at least 20 years.
He's a great
Yeah, he's a
human
good guy.
being. Yes, he is. Yeah, we
Probably a
love him.
very good guest.
Yeah.
He was on the
Yeah.
show. Like when we first started, his episode was 3 hours.
Our longest.
Oh my
He-
God. I know.
Yeah.
He's crazy.
He has great stories.
His stories. He needs to write a cereal book.
I know. I know. He
Cereal
does.
chapters. Those would be crazy. But one thing I was going to say, and like, I don't want to add anything to your plate, but I feel like you could also do the podcast version of these stories
Yeah.
as well, audio, not like
Yeah.
just like even just interviewing some of the people that are still with us
Yeah.
about the book. Like I would want to hear you and your mom on a podcast, or maybe
Yeah.
you and your brother, or
It's
something like that.
definitely been talked about with this group
Yes.
about workshopping
Mhm.
a podcast or a show or
Yeah.
a series.
Mhm.
And so I think it'll all reveal itself.
Yeah. It's just
I'm
like-
like, now I am getting tired.
Yeah. You gotta rest. What are you
Yeah.
gonna do for the new year to like rest and just
I have been resting the past few weeks because no
Okay.
one will work. And
Yes.
I'm like, it's been great for me, but it's been hard because I'm, trying to launch all these things and grow this, company and
Mhm.
expand. And everyone's like taking a break. And it's been very frustrating because I can't work as hard as I want to, but it's been great for me to reflect.
It's-
And
I've
you
been
need
sending
that
emails,
time.
and everybody's like
Yeah.
out of office. I'm
I
like, does
know.
everybody just take 2 weeks off? I'm like, I can't even take 2 days off. I was like, Christmas Eve, I'm emailing
My
people the
daughter.
day after Christmas.
I needed to send emails today and I'm like, I'll just wait. I'll just wait. I don't want to
Everybody's-
Yeah, I
bother
think we have to
anyone.
wait like 3 or 4 more days.
Yeah,
You
no,
have to wait till
honestly,
January 6th.
honestly.
Everybody's email
January
says January 6th.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm
Yeah.
like, dude, that's like
Yeah.
18
I mean, that's
days.
how long I'm off. So
Yeah.
just saying.
Um,
In my profession.
Well, Katie, I have a couple more things for you. I wanted to
Okay.
ask entrepreneurs and business leaders, we have a partnership with Birch Tree Recovery
Yeah.
about mental health and how you balance your mental health with not only everything you've been through, but also everything you have on your plate.
Yeah.
Because some people would crumble in that. And I didn't know if you had any tips for people on, or things that you do
Yeah,
that
the-
help with your mental health.
The best thing you can do is gratitude,
Mhm.
okay? Because we all can get really wrapped up in how hard things are. And so if you can just write down, even if it's like sometimes it's so hard to do because you're just so upset, write down one thing you're grateful for. And there's something about doing that act and thinking that thought
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
really can lift your spirits.
Okay.
I think it's the most powerful thing
Mhm.
that I've found. Number 2 is like getting outside in nature I think nature is powerful medicine. On a physical level, just the grounding effects of it and the sounds. And then just also being able to be silent and reflect and calm because this world is chaotic and crazy and our brains can't handle
Mhm.
the phones
Yeah.
in our faces all the time. So they need a reprieve, and nature's a great way to do that. And then, I do the things that I do. I do a lot of stuff. I
Mhm.
mean, I do some breath work, so I'm
Yeah.
into that kind of stuff because I can't get high anymore. So I have to find other ways
To get
to
out.
hold my
Breath work?
breath.
Holding your
Breath
breath, you're like,
hard.
"Ooh."
It's good.
I do cold plunges,
Yeah, that'll get you high.
cold showers.
Yeah.
Nature's the most effective for me. I eat as clean and healthy as I can because I know that food, sugar, and all of that affects anxiety and depression.
Mhm.
So I eat as clean as I can. Exercise. I mean, it's just like the basic stuff, but
Right.
it really is hard to do when you're down.
It's true.
It's hard to do, but when you do it, it's really the medicine. But I would say if you can't even, life is so tough that you don't even want to do those things, write down one thing you're grateful for. And then all of a sudden you'll start to write down the second thing and the third thing, and you'll feel better. And maybe you can get up and go outside, put your bare feet on the ground and get the
There's
ball
something about
rolling.
that, your bare feet on the ground.
Yeah.
The gratitude journal is great. My mom always does that. She still does that. Like
Yeah.
every day she flips the page and writes something
Me
about
too.
somebody.
Every morning.
Yeah. And it's so
Uh-huh.
easy. And you'd think like it's these little things. That's amazing.
Yeah, but I do all kinds of crazy stuff.
The breath work, yeah, the cold plunges,
Mhm.
saunas.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
work out. I
Yeah.
hike.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mhm.
Traveling too kind of helps sometimes. But like you're
Yeah.
right, like no matter where you go in today's business is you can never disconnect because everything's
Yeah.
right here. So it is really difficult.
Mhm.
I've tried to set like time controls on certain apps and
I know,
different
me
things like
too.
that, and it's so
Can't
hard.
do it.
It's
For
so
now,
hard.
it works for me.
I just do know. I just say not today, not today.
I did a silent retreat once for 3 days, and that was
Really?
amazing. And I cannot tell you how clear I felt, and I was kind of like detoxed from all of the media for at least a few weeks.
Mhm.
I didn't go
That's
back to it, but I think you need like a
You
serious
do.
experience like that.
No, it's the detox. It was the same thing. You did a 3-day retreat. It's
Yeah.
like a lot can change in 72 hours, but then
Yeah.
you're right back to the media.
Yeah,
So,
I know. I
It's
know.
hard.
You're
crazy.
back.
What's the dopamine you get from it when you do an announcement and you get 1,000 people that like it?
Oh,
How good
it's
does that
the
feel?
same
It feels
part
so
of your
good.
brain as like drugs
Mhm.
and nicotine and all
Yeah,
that.
because when
so-
you
Yeah.
announce something, you're like, oh my gosh, like it's not doing as good as
Yeah.
it should have done, and let me like
I
post it
know.
again, or is the video bad, or
Yeah.
whatever it might be. I like your content. I compare like I consult a lot of people on social media, and I think that you do a really good job with not overthinking it and editing it and just
Yeah.
recording and pressing play. Like those videos don't need to be
I don't know how to
Over.
do that. That's
Yeah.
why I don't do it.
okay. Well, that's perfect.
I
But I'm
don't
saying
like
like,
it, yeah.
and a lot of these business owners, they don't want to manage their own social media, and,
Yeah.
and our business helps these businesses with their social. But there's a difference when the owner and the brand is behind it because they're
Yeah.
talking to you
Well,
when they tag you, you're like, hey, thanks for
your,
coming.
your brand is your story and your everything, and the only one that can really tell it
Yeah.
that well is yourself. But it's a sacrifice, and it's hard to do.
Because I know some of these restaurateurs that have like 8 different restaurants. Like you can't manage all those pages.
No,
Yeah.
it's really hard, and I'm overwhelmed with mine as well. But yeah, I just sometimes I take breaks from it and
Yeah.
don't post for a while, and yeah,
No,
Reset.
that's
just go with the flow.
so it is the STL bucket list show.
Well, I was going to ask
You go
one
ahead.
thing.
Okay.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have a favorite? Fun question. Do you have a favorite dish that you like to make, or like?
Well, I make Nadia the same thing every night.
Because you're a picky eater. You're like, what are
But
you having
we
tonight?
do. She calls it her special recipe, and it's like this spinach tortellini, which is the only way I can get her to eat the spinach,
Uh,
with red sauce and mascarpone. And I just stir that in. So I make that for her almost. I mean, I try to get other stuff.
Yeah.
down.
Yeah. Wanna try
What do
something new?
I eat? I eat just like I love like a good roasted chicken. I'll cook a roasted chicken. I love cooking a great steak with like sweet potatoes.
Yeah.
I eat pretty clean and basic stuff, but like in the restaurant, I would say my favorite dishes are probably the black spaghetti is so good.
Mhm.
The
That's good.
chicken parmesan is so amazing. And maybe the Fiori arrabbiata. And then my favorite pizza is probably the pepperoni with honey or a margarita.
Yeah.
Pepperoni
Yeah.
with honey. It's so hard.
It's so good.
We had the
2
owner of
nights ago, we just.
Oh, we had we had the which one did we
the
have?
black
tonight?
truffle,
Oh yeah, we had the black truffle one. Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Mhm.
Yeah, that was a
Yeah,
good
it's
one.
truffle season.
burrata and truffle.
Yeah.
Oh.
mhm.
We had the frozen one, so we just had it at our house.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So we got some from Fresh Time.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, fresh
cool.
one.
Cool.
But no, we had the owner of Casa Alfonso from
yeah.
from
When they were
Italy.
in town a
Yeah,
few
he
weeks
came on the
ago. I
podcast.
know I met him. He's so
Yeah.
sweet.
And
He
he
is so
talked
sweet.
about the extra virgin olive oil
Yeah.
and how his restaurant is based off those same principles of healthy,
Yep.
the Mediterranean diet that's so popular now.
Oh my God. Can I
But
talk about this?
You go
for a
ahead.
second?
You talk about
Yeah.
it.
This is so
Yeah.
powerful, like the way that we cook in this restaurant. So I did a post today where I
Mhm.
was like, I showed the pasta room, and it was some videos of our pasta room where they're hand making these noodles. And every single noodle that we make is hand folded, hand stuffed, extruded with like ancient grain durum and semolina wheat, farm eggs. We only cook with extra virgin olive oil. We only cook with butter. We make all of our sauces starting in a pan with, the olive oil or the butter and build from there. All of our stocks are made with chicken feet and beef bones and or shell, if we're doing
Yeah.
a seafood stock.
Mhm.
Shells, we hand tear all of our herbs. We ferment all of our dough. We use the most beautiful, clean, real food ingredients, and we always have.
Mhm.
And we're serving with all of the locations, probably 1,500 people a day.
Yeah.
And that is like, it's like, that's when you should be cutting corners, right? Because it's hard to do.
Yeah.
And yet we're still hand folding and hand shaping
Mhm.
every single noodle and making everything from scratch. And so people will come in who are diabetic or gluten intolerant, and they can eat our pizza and our pasta, and it doesn't spike anything for them.
Yeah.
And it's because it's just real, beautiful ingredients.
Labor
and like
of love.
they finally just put olive oil and eggs on healthy food. And I swear that's like my favorite thing. I drizzle this extra virgin olive oil on anything. It's so good for
Everything.
you.
Every night, the salad. Like
I
that's our
know.
dressing. A
My
little of
sister's new
that and
boyfriend's
some
from
lemon.
Greece, and they live on an olive farm. They sent us
Yeah.
some from Greece too.
Yeah.
But yeah, so he was talking about the same things of like how everybody there's so healthy in his village
Yeah.
and where his other casa is. And
Yeah.
it was the same thing because people are like, oh, olive oil, that's oil, it's bad. And
It's bad. Well,
yeah.
seed oils are bad.
Yeah, seed
and
oils.
like all
Yeah.
of these like processed oils and canola
Yeah.
oil and vegetable oil.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Horrible. I mean, our
Oh, yeah.
bodies can't process it.
Oh, yeah.
And so
Mhm.
we get sick and inflamed and get all of these conditions. So
I love
Yeah.
the
the
ingredient
food
list.
in the restaurants
Yeah.
and in the grocery line is all
Yeah.
clean, beautiful
And that's
stuff.
not cheap to do that either.
No, it's not. And then you also talk about the technique and the labor that
Yeah.
goes in. That
We
is
see it when we're
involved
there. People are working.
doing it. I
Watching.
mean, and they're making I mean, at that scale, you should be cutting open a bag and heating it up. That's what, chain restaurants
Yeah.
would do.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we're employing all of these people to do slow food techniques and using real ingredients.
It's
And
rare nowadays.
so it just makes me so happy because Americans are being poisoned, and we're this safe haven restaurant where you can go and
Have quality.
quality
And now
clean
with all the
food.
media coverage about it, I think that it's something that you should talk about more too.
I know. I
Yeah.
did that post today,
Yeah,
and I'm
that's
like, I'm
amazing.
gonna start
You
talking about it
commented on
more.
some lady that said your stuff was expensive one
Mhm.
time, and I just
And
saw.
I said it's
Yeah.
inexpensive, actually.
Yeah.
because-
It was the one
Cut.
comment when
I
you
said-
announced the new line. You were walking around, and
Mhm.
somebody's like, "I like this, but it's too expensive." Or
Yeah.
she said it's overpriced.
Oh, I said we're underpriced
Yeah.
because of, the technique that goes in, the labor that goes in. We're employing these people, the ingredients that we're using.
Yeah.
We're nourishing you instead of poisoning you.
Right.
Yes, I love that
That's
you
right.
commented that because normally you just keep scrolling, but you're like, "No, I'm a
Some
I got
things-
time today."
Some things
I
have
got
to
time
be
today.
I
addressed.
got time today.
Like, let's drop some
No, but I
facts
agree.
real
and
quick.
we're big on that in our family, and ever since we had a kid. So two
Like,
of
I
the
make
things.
her food. Like,
Oh, me
I'm,
too.
I'm
I am
like,
like, girl, you're having avocado.
Yeah.
You're not gonna.
Yeah.
sweet potatoes. I'm gonna boil your
Yeah.
sweet potato and just
then even
mash it
for
up right
us,
here
Totally.
for you.
Because
You
once
know.
you have children, your life expands, and now I'm like, I want to live longer because I
Oh,
want
my
to
God.
see my children's children,
Or
and
you just want to feel better.
Yes.
You talk about mental health.
Keep
And I'm
up
telling
and-
you, the
Mhm.
food that we are served in America is, I believe, like a big cause for all of the mental health issues.
Yeah.
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 and
It's
just-
horrible.
It's like,
Yeah.
very clearly linked with anxiety, depression,
Mhm.
and inflammation, and
Mhm.
all of it.
Right.
So.
Well, that's awesome that you're changing that, and the fact that you're still keeping it that way, and I'm sure that you're still going to keep it that way no matter how much
Oh
it
my
costs.
God. Yeah. I always say we will never compromise a technique or an ingredient if it affects. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's
Mhm.
amazing. So it is the STL bucket list show.
Okay.
I want to hear about some of your bucket list spots. So you're busy.
Yeah.
You're a mom. You might not go out as much as other people do,
Go
but you
out.
still go out. Okay, she does
We
go
saw
out.
you at Sato the one time, right?
Sado's
See, you're
so
out
good.
and about.
Yeah.
We
So
know
we'll
you-
put Sato on the list.
Yeah, so-
Always.
So date night spots. Like, what are your going out spots, date night spots, kind of vibe?
I always love Wright's.
Mhm.
It's so fun, and it reminds me of my aunt's
Mhm.
restaurant, E. Fredolini. My favorite chef in the world is Bernie Lee. So a car. If you
Mhm.
haven't been to a car,
Yeah.
he
Right
is
on Wydon. So you hang
It's
out on
right
Wydon
there.
right there. You
yeah,
have everything.
yeah,
there.
but I just love Bernie. He's
Yeah.
like the hardest working, one of the best chefs ever.
They just
He's
expanded
so
their
incredible.
spot, their
yeah,
space over there.
yeah.
Mhm.
And the food is incredible, clean, beautiful food. Again, let's see. I love Ben Paremba, so I'm excited about the new Nixta.
I know.
moving.
Bring it
You
back.
been to
Yeah.
Eska?
Esk, I've
Eska's
been a couple of
unbelievable, yeah.
times. Yeah, let's see. Oh my God, I'm gonna be so upset because I'm gonna miss all my friends. Shout out.
It's so hard.
We can put out a
But-
list. If you want to
but
write a list, we could also
Balkan-
post a list too.
Balkan's
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah.
Yes.
That Peruvian restaurant out in St. Charles.
Alea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so good.
Andrew, Chef Andrew.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you kind of go all over. You go.
Oh yeah,
all over
I mean, I love food.
Yeah. You go where the food takes you, babe.
I love the dining experience. I
Yeah.
love supporting, my peers.
Right.
Yes.
I love seeing what they're doing. Obviously I travel a lot. I post a lot of my travels, and so I get to experience some incredible restaurants.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So what about with your daughter? What's her bucket list spot that she always wants you to go get on? Like she's like, hey, can we get
Oh
this
my
tonight?
God, I think no, she
Yeah.
won't. I
She's
think
picky.
yeah.
I know, but if she's like, I only
Let
want
me
this from this
see.
place.
Well, first of all, she told me that the chef at her school, which is the lunch lady, makes better pizza than me.
Oh.
I love that.
I remember that pizza.
That's funny.
Right, it was good. The
Yeah, it
squares.
was good. Yeah.
Yeah, the square
It probably had that
pizza.
stuff in it that we're not supposed to eat.
No, she really loves Katie's,
Yeah.
and she loves unfortunately, like butter noodles. She will eat the bolognese. Let's see.
Yeah.
I don't really take her.
Mhm.
I mean, I cook for her a lot. I cook almost every night.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
you do cook at
Yeah.
it?
Yeah.
Wow. Because you might not get to cook in the restaurants as much. So
Oh, I
you're
do
like,
not.
Yeah.
They would not allow me to do that. These
Oh.
guys are way, way, way,
way better.
too talented.
So to get your creative juices out, you're like, I'll cook at home. 'Cause-
I write menus. I'm a creative director for that. So I understand food and plating. I'm great at plating. I'm great at writing menus, but then we
So
work
cute.
as a team, the collective, and obviously they are the real chefs.
Yes. So you're just like, let them go.
But
Because
I
some
mean,
of the
I
chefs.
spent many years on a line, obviously,
Yeah.
in many restaurants, but I don't hold a candle to the talent that these guys have
Yeah.
and gals.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah, because a lot of the like entrepreneurs or restaurateurs that we have on cook at their restaurants,
Yeah.
so they don't want to come home and cook. So they have different experiences
Yeah,
sometimes.
that's a different experience.
Yeah, because they're like, I'm grinding right now.
Right.
I need a break.
Because you spoke of Ben, I was just talking to Ben today about Nick. He's working at Nixta right now, and then
Oh,
he'll
I
work at
know.
Esca, then he'll work
Yeah.
at Florentine, and then
Yeah.
he'll work at
My restaurateur experience is different from
Yeah.
a lot of people.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's more of a well, I don't know how to explain it, but it's just different.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of things I do are different, writing the book and
Mhm.
stuff. And it's just,
Yeah.
I kind of have my own
Your own
way
rhythm.
of doing things, and neither is right or wrong. And but yeah, it is very different.
Mhm.
And my peers who have, I've worked in a lot of their restaurants and grown up working with them side by side as servers or cooks. And they jab me a little bit about how different we are, but then there's also a lot of respect going both ways because, it's just different.
Yeah, it's just the restaurant talk. They're like, oh man, but then you're like, I'm killing it.
I mean, I work really, really hard, obviously, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's just all very different.
Well, Katie,
Different magics.
Yeah.
Different spoons. and
thank you so
different,
much for the
know.
goodies. So do you want to just, before we wrap up, talk about some of these products?
Yeah. So we, jarred our sauce, and I didn't bring the lemon cream, but our marinara, super beautiful, spicy arrabbiata, exact same recipe.
Oh,
We have the
so
lemon
good.
cream jarred as well, and I forgot it.
Mhm.
Extra virgin olive oil that I've sourced from Liguria, Italy. Okay,
gold.
with Vince from D'Italia. He's my importer partner. He and I have a really great relationship. I'm going to Florence with him in 3 weeks for a big food show, and we're going to meet with a bunch of makers and start importing more things.
Mhm.
We've also worked with, this is from Modena. It's an aged balsamic.
My favorite.
Yeah,
in
it's
the-
so incredible. So Vince and I source this and import this as well. And then we have, so I make all of my fresh pasta. To dry pasta, you have to have the right climate.
Mhm.
And if you want to air dry, you have to have a lot of square footage. Okay, so it would be impossible for me to do in humid Missouri.
Mhm.
So I went and found one of the last air drying facilities in Bari, Italy. And so just to give you an understanding, so it's our exact same recipe. It's an ancient grain, semolina, durum wheat, but they when you air dry in the right climate, you don't pull out the protein and you don't pull out the minerals and vitamins, and then when you eat it, you don't feel sick.
Yeah.
So This is a super high protein, mineral rich, healthy dried pasta, but tastes great. So it's not like you have to eat healthy and eat weird like chia seed pasta.
Yeah.
It's real wheat pasta, but it's just made in the right climate with the right technique.
Yeah.
So we're really excited about that. So we import this from Bari, Italy. So Vince and I are going to Florence in a few weeks to check on our, people and meet them.
Yeah.
And then we're going to go to some of the
And expand the product
places.
line.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
Well, we will be eating good tonight.
I know. We should do
I
that tonight.
actually
We'll send you a
was going to
picture
make
tonight.
some spaghetti tonight. So
There you go.
yeah, now dinner's ready. Thank you so much for
Yeah.
that. Oh,
Thank you for having
guys.
me
It's
on.
been so
Amazing.
fun.
Yeah.
This has been a great convo.
It
It
has
has
been.
been.
It
You
has
were
been
great. And is
Excited
there
about the book.
anything else like listeners should know to support you or
Well,
follow or
Yeah,
what to look out for?
Go to Katie's.com. You can ship all of our products across the U.S. You can find out more about our givebacks, about all of the new stuff that we're doing, make reservations at the restaurants. So pretty easy, Katie's.com. And then follow me on Instagram. So you can see my Italy trip coming up.
Yes, the work.
And building the new restaurants and all the cool stuff that we're going to announce and get chapter 2.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you, Katie. Thanks for joining us.
Amazing.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If you wanna hear about St. Louis, tune into the Bucket List Show weekly. Hear what Marissa and Luke say. It drops every Wednesday.